All right, we're back for another episode of Generative Genius, where we talk with real brand marketers, and we talk a lot about how generative AI is changing the landscape of marketing overall. I am super excited today to have Brooke Weller join me from REQ. Brooke, would love a quick introduction for the audience.
Thanks. I'm Brooke Weller, SVP of Media and Analytics. I work here at REQ. And we are a full service ad agency doing all things digital across PR, creative, SEO, paid media, you name it, we do it. I've been in the industry for nearly 20 years and I've seen the industry grow, expand. It's been incredible. We're in a very fast paced stage here, of course, especially with the AI side. But I've been blessed to work with fabulous, amazing digital marketers and clients along the way.
Love that. Well, really excited that you're here today. And man, you talk about the speed and holy smokes, like we all thought we were working quickly. And then the AI piece hits all of us and man, everything just kind of gets times 10, right? Across the board. And what I was really excited and, thanks again for joining today. What I was really excited to chat with you about is, we've had a lot of these conversations. We talk broadly about the impact of AI and generative AI in lots of areas of marketing. We haven't had one where we focused, very closely on some of the media, the performance, the ideas around creative and the importance there. And so I was really excited, given that that's your background, to jump in and hear a little bit more. And I guess first thing to think through that is, as you're starting to think about performance overall, how are you guys thinking through generative AI solutions, ideas, like things that are happening? Like what are you seeing and where are you starting to say like, hey, we should definitely be dipping our toe in to learn more about how this can create an impact for our clients?
Well, it's on our minds every day. That is for sure. We can see a lot of pop-up AI tools coming into the forefront. As an SLT, we meet on a regular basis because a lot of our team members have been coming to us. What's REQ's POV on AI? Like my client is asking me, what am I supposed to tell them? And then people start using their own AI tools. Like we have a company-wide secure ChatGPT. And so people are just, hey, I'm going to learn it myself. And so then we realized there was varying levels of experience leveraging AI. We had requests for different tools. I am all over the tools because I just, anything like that, I just start consuming and become very obsessed with. And actually, so as an SLT, we're like, well, let's definitely figure out where we lean into AI. And so we actually did a huge exercise where we looked across the business. We looked at every single stage of production on the marketing side, things that we could do that would make our jobs more efficient. And then we started talking more about the broader spectrum of AI usage across client bases, like which clients are okay with it, which clients are not okay with it. And when I mean okay with it, I mean, can we produce a video from scratch with nothing else but AI? And is that okay to deliver to a client and say, we made you a video? And most of the time it's not okay. And so you have to figure out what's the balance between the actual creative person's creativity or the content writer. We know in the SEO world that you can't write content with AI. Google will ping you or ding you or not rank you. And we've got helpful content updates coming through almost every other month now from Google, where they're just going through and scraping away websites that just all are generated, all the content's built with AI. So there's a very, really, really fine balance between leveraging it. So yes, we're thinking about it constantly. I can go into more detail, but it's right there in front of us,
Right
constantly.
in front of us. You mentioned something interesting. You talk about, certain clients that you work with today being more open to it versus, maybe more risk averse in the way that they think about it, and others not being so. I mean, any interesting findings or thoughts, whether it's by industry or by personality? Like, how do you guys think through that, and how do you work directly with each one of your clients to know what the threshold for utilization of generative AI across the multitude of things you're doing for the client is something that's in play?
Yeah, we generally don't use AI for production unless we have a conversation with a client. And here's a good example on the real estate side. We're in social media. We're all over the social media trends. We work with all these different partners and we have tools that pull trends for us. And we try to advise our clients that maybe we don't own the creative, or maybe we're not going to go out and do a video shoot at one of their properties, but they need the content. And so we're showing them all these real estate agents walking through a, $10 million property, and the voiceovers are just on it. The edits cuts are there. And the client's like we've never done this, they're still stuck in the, we don't have enough content, but we know we need to play in this space. And so we finally said, Michelle, just record yourself please talking about the property, and then send us all of the video, because they have this really polished video of their properties, and the polished videos aren't converting. That's just what it is. You need the viral, like, social media-esque, like, shot with an iPhone video. And so we also told them, just go out there in your property and shoot it with an iPhone, but they just can't get that content going. And so we said, great. We took her voice, we took a AI generated tool, we mashed the video, we sped it up, slowed it down so it looked like someone's walking through the property. We put her voice transcript into an AI tool, which generated a different voice. And then we layered that on top of the video. And all of that would normally take 3 weeks for somebody to do back in the day. And now it was like we did it in an hour, maybe an hour and a half, because we had to, learn how to use that specific tool. But ultimately, we ended up with a beautiful, perfect video. Now we can run ads against it. They can use it in their organic social, like, and we could do it. We can now take that same template and do it for their other 15 properties.
Well, that's what I think is super interesting. The content creation side is what you spoke to for the majority of that. But then the way that then adding all these different pieces of content can now play into the effectiveness and the performance overall, right? I create this one video, but then once you do that, how are you guys thinking about extending the life of the video, if you will? You mentioned a couple points, but like where all does that video then go live, to map back to the idea that, look, the agent needs to sell a house, right? That's the goal.
Yeah. There's things like needing to, even have calls to action on those videos. And where do they live? They live in the social sphere. If you have footage, if you have an hour, or excuse me, if you have a minute and a half footage, you just need you need a 15-second video for social. So now there's tools where you can throw in a video, and it's actually, with AI, is going to find you the best clips of your video. Like us talking right now, I'm going to take as much as I can from this, if you'll allow it. I'm going to throw it into a tool. It's going to take the best snapshots of our discussion, and that's going to be social media for my social media, even though I know you're going to use it for your larger production.
Totally. No, I love that, right? The effectiveness of the content, the creativity now, creativity almost takes on a different tone, right? A different definition of like, how do I just get more out of all this content that I'm asking to be built? And then once you've got it, I guess I'm curious, how do you guys think about the actual performance of this type of content, right? Whether you're putting it in some sort of organic kind of SEO play, whether it's more of like a paid search or a paid social side, like how are you thinking about it when it comes to targeting, measuring ROI, scaling campaigns? Like how does REQ think about that for each of their clients?
So we have a lot of inherent platform AI capabilities. We don't always love them. I mean, I was around when Google machine learning became a thing, right? And we were like, do we trust the machine? Do we not? Like, can we manually bid? And ultimately, Google itself came to our agency and, said, you have to lean into this because this is going to be better performing. So we ran all these tests, like the machine versus the man, and the machine won every single time. And so you need to lean into the machine. And that's the same with Meta ads, TikTok. They all have their own algorithms that you have to adapt to. And so we have some performance, tricks up our sleeves when it comes to the platforms. You still need that human touch. Again, I don't think any of the AI tools for any of the categories are where they need to be yet. People are dabbling, people are playing, people are patchworking things together to get the job done. But I don't think there's like a one-off tool that can do everything you need it to do, for example. And so still in meta ads, we may not lean it all the way into the AI. We might want to change placements. We might want to use our old school optimization tricks, and those still work. On the reporting side, we are entering into a very cool stage, in my opinion, where our company is now, we've all raised our hands enough and said this, we need our jobs to be done faster, and we need to build cool things on top of the GPTs out there. And so we are building and have pretty much built a insights writing GPT. And again, we have a secure license, so we're not feeding the machine the data for learning, and it's all our own and no one else can see it. But I mean, we do it on an ad hoc basis, even though we haven't built the machine yet. But we throw in data, throw in a spreadsheet, like, hey, tell me what's up. And it literally, you have your prompt, you tell it what you need to know. You say go high level, then go granular, and it's giving you the information. Again, you still have to edit because the language is not going to understand like the caveats of human language as well as it could or should in the future. But that just saved me an hour. That saves my team 10 hours a week. It's really amazing, this the what is the word, proliferation of
Sure.
the use of AI. Again, we're still scrappy with it, but we're looking at measuring things. Our tool in the future is going to be able to do a little bit of predictive performance management as well. And I'll shout out, we partner with Blueprint. Have you heard of Blueprint?
No, tell me more.
So Blueprint is an AI performance management tool. Even so I'm in the data world, and when you set up a big report for 100 clients, for example, like there's all the data connectors, it's very messy. There's rules, dimensions, custom metrics. Well, Blueprint is using ID tracking at the UTM level, and you basically auto tag everything as soon as you connect your platform, and they're pulling all the platforms into one space, and then it's recommending the recommendations. Part of it is my favorite because it takes a lot of data mining out of our process,
Yeah.
and it will tell you right away, here's all of your campaign, here's your ads. Like, let's say you run an ad for a coffee mug across all your ten marketing channels. You're pulling all of those in, and it's going to tell you the red mug performed better than the blue mug across everything, and it will tell you budget recommendations. And so if you're able to quickly change budgets, you're basically going to see a huge spike in performance, because budget performance management is one of the fastest and best ways to improve performance. And people don't realize that. They let creative sit in the account forever, even though they've hit creative fatigue.
So super interesting as we talk about creative fatigue, as we talk about the different, you jump in too. We talk about stock imagery. We're probably leveraging video. Are you guys still seeing that a blend of all of those things is best? Is any of the AI insights that you're seeing leading you kind of one way or the other, or is it kind of specific to targeting certain goals across each type of medium, and then ultimately the platform it sits on? Like, I'm just curious if we get further into the performance there.
Yeah, I actually just made a joke the other day to a client, which maybe I shouldn't have, but I said, if you send me another static image, like I'm gonna like walk away. Like, we need video. We need UGC video. We need product videos. You have to still do the storytelling. And even if you're going to use Canva or a creative agency to build your static carousel images, those aren't converting the same way UGC is converting. And I will say one thing about UGC that might be an unpopular opinion, but because there's so much of it now and people are building it with AI, where you can't even, the average person cannot even tell if I'm holding a product, if it's me or my AI twin. You cannot tell. And I could change the product that's in my hand, and then I could make 400 different pieces of content and go sell those out to different brands. But millennials and the younger generations are shopping in store actually a lot more often than online. I think they're going to start getting sick of that type of content. And so the UGC model is still going to be needed, but what you talk about on the model needs to change. It's going to have to be like the personal, the in person, and the online combination, instead of just buy this mug, it's on promo code XYZ.
Well, it's really interesting that you say that. I've talked with actually quite a few brands lately who are feeling that exact same mentality, right? This idea of direct response being the only push across video content and social is starting to take a bit of a step back as brands start to say, well, really, this is an awareness play for me. This is an opportunity for me to get my brand out there, for people to learn more about my brand or think about my brand in a new or differentiated way. And I guess I'm curious, right? I mean, that aligns with what you're thinking, the shopping habits and everything else. But as we start to think about, what you just mentioned, an AI version of Brooke holding all these different products and everything else, it brings up the question of, ethics and authenticity and right, like the definition of user generated content. What is user generated anymore? So any thoughts or a specific take on like how consumers would think through, like, does it matter to them? Do we have a responsibility as agencies and brands that we need to communicate if this is AI specific or if it's actually a real person? Like, what, I'm just curious to get your thoughts there.
So there has already been, I think in 2024, I just read 50 million in fines for the advertising use of AI without disclosure. So I posted on LinkedIn the other day, should I or content creator admit that I'm using AI or not? And I took a poll and a lot of people said, yes, fake content is horrible and so forth. What I didn't even realize when I posted that is there is already regulations out there. Like you actually do need to disclose if it's 100% AI, if it's quarter percent AI. They're not cracking down on it from, Brooke Weller, but if I was Nike and I didn't disclose, that Coca-Cola commercial that went viral, I guarantee they had to disclose that that was AI because of all the regulations that do exist. So people who are starting this journey into AI and content creation with AI I would read up on what the rules are. And I think the rules will get even more specific. I tried to post yesterday with my AI bot that the TikTok ban was being considered by the Supreme Court, and the app I was using for my voiceover said, "Sorry, we can't talk about anything political."
Wow.
Because we're going to get into like deep fakes of celebrities
I
and
already have, right? I mean, like,
people.
yeah.
And I was like, what? I just want to talk about TikTok. And then I realized why. And I don't know, I keep going down these rabbit holes of the regulations and why and how AI does need to have some guardrails. Otherwise we are going to go bonkers. And by the way, I haven't made any AI generated UGC with myself in a product yet. I know it's possible, but there's something inside of me that's like, is it ethical? Is it okay for me, and definitely our company is going to be, we don't want to be called out by any of our clients. Like, who is that person that you just created? So we still lean on the actual influencer. And I don't mean to say actual, but like human influencers there's plenty of humans out there that want to be influencers. So we don't really have to lean entirely into the AI world, but I do know it exists. I know it's happening. And I think that it should and will be regulated in the future a little bit more.
Sure, and as the regulation happens, great. But I think what you bring up about still getting true creator first, authentic creator content, and then if you align that with what you were saying at the beginning of the conversation, right? This real estate, how do I make that content go farther? That feels like a really great utilization of AI, right? You talk about making your team faster, more efficient, but at least in the way I view it, it's like I have real content. I have potentially ownership rights to this content, or at least some sort of licensed rights to it. And now,
Mhm.
how do I make sure that it's not just this one and done? I feel like we've done that with influencer content a lot. This one and done nature of it. When in fact, what if I was able to do more with it? Right? Align it. Utilize AI to be able to align. Like, are you guys playing with in that space at all, and like thinking through getting more out of the content that you are sourcing from these authentic, real people influencers?
Well, I think that what we're telling our clients is less about how to get more out of it, but how to have really deep, authentic, meaningful partnerships with influencers. Because the journey isn't, I mean, we are all stuck in this direct response, rat race of I got to produce all this content, put it out there. Every single piece of content needs to convert. But really, the reason why people love UGC in the first place is because it's storytelling, it's authenticity, it's social proof. And so if you're trying to hack all three of those things, people will know it, first of all. And second of all, the way that we interact online now is not, well, I saw some person's face just selling a product. That person looks like a mom selling, baby formula. Maybe I'm a mom too. No, we follow that person first. We listen to them talk about parenting advice, baby wearing. They're talking about everything. They're not selling products. They are just building their own personal brand and they're putting out content that's valuable. So you're following a person for, I don't know how long, a week, a month, 6 months. That same person says, hey, I'm using, go go baby wearing. And now I'm sold. I follow everything about this person. And I have probably, we're all following people that actually are influencing us. And I think that's the way that brands need to think about it. And so when we talk influencer to our clients, we're like, what's the persona? What does that person stand for? What else are they posting online? What's their general vibe? And then we pick influencers and then we create partnerships. And maybe that brand goes back to the same influencer for 17 different products because that person has a story that they're telling out there in the world. And so that's what I think about when I say the pendulum is going to, move or turn. It's like we're all going this way for AI and it's like amazing AI and then we're going to get to the top of that swing and we're going to go, wow, this is all kind of crappy. Like this doesn't feel super great. Like let's go back over here to like people and feelings and meaning and so I think it's going to end up like somewhere in the middle, but brands cannot lose that real like genuine UGC feel. And
Sure.
that's why employee generated content on LinkedIn is crushing it right now.
Yeah.
That's why, brand partnerships are still, very much a viable option for brands.
You talk about the pendulum. I think, historically there's all these kind of overcorrections as the pendulum swings back and forth. But I think, what you talk about crappy content or whatever, right? We want to define this content as, but it's really interesting. It also goes to this idea of some of the early AI, at least now, is really focused on leveraging the law of averages, which is a very scary law, right? Because you can oftentimes miss a lot of important, crucial, or impactful moments that you need to track. And it's almost tangentially, when you talk about UGC, it's almost adverse to that because that's what UGC, this authenticity of social and everything else, is meant to capture these kind of little lightning in a bottle type moments, trends, things that are happening. And so I love what you say around, am I using AI in the right manner? Because if I'm just using it to create all of my content, I think that's where you get into the trouble that you're talking about, right? Where it's like, now it's all this mediocre, trying to include everything type content versus how do I make sure that I'm relevant? And that's what that authenticity seems to bring. And that's where, to your point overall, that's where brands seem to win as well.
Yeah, we can't think solely about the money we're going to generate from what we put out there. We have to think about the larger picture story that the content is conveying about your brand. You want to be the product went viral brand, like go for it. But you're, a fast burning candle burns out very quickly, right? I don't know what the saying is. But you actually just made me think of something else. When it comes to AI, and this is more general speaking, we are going to see a loss of our upbringing, if that makes sense. Like I said, I've been in the industry for 20 years. I actually think that my experience being in the industry in 20 years is going to be more valuable than someone who is fully leveraging 100% AI and skipped all those steps of learning, understanding, data mining, navigating different channels, media planning. And they're going to go very far in their career very fast. And then they're going to be sitting there and they're not going to know how things are made kind of thing. Back in the day when we still have those videos on YouTube, like, oh, this is how this is made. I think that understanding that is, I think knowing that and being through it and still speaking about it in another 10 years, I'll be AI enabled. I already am. But there's this generation of marketers and content creators that just are missing that background, or they will be missing the background.
Well, to your point, AI enabled versus AI created, right? Like that's kind of the I would say the biggest difference here. And whether it's content creation, whether it's your performance media, whether it's you yourself, right? And your career that you're speaking to, I think that's going to be a really interesting point as well, is to say, how does history play into all of this, right? Like we've already seen some funny things out there, and whether it's Google's Gemini or Sora, like there's a neat entertainment value, but does it always get the information right when it comes to history? I won't answer the question, but I think everybody sees it's like, man, what happens to history in that regard, right? Where mistakes are gonna be made, and how do you continue to learn from those mistakes? And that's what I equate to. You probably have made far fewer mistakes in your career, Brooke, than I have. However, those are the learnings. Those are the things that let you be able to handle whatever the future situation holds. And you get to think back and look through and say, well, this is how we handled it, not how I handled. I feel like AI would be great saying, this is how I handled 97 problems in one way. But what you were looking at is like, what was the one specific thing that aligned with this pretty closely and that let me find that comes with experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
And
Oh, good.
no, you go.
I was just going to say, you've mentioned, I know you talked about blueprints earlier. I was curious just on tools and technologies. You mentioned you're dabbling with them and dabbling with a few here and there. Outside of blueprints, like any others that have been stellar for you or exciting, or ones that you just feel like, man, these are really helping to change our business?
Well, I'll start with like the research side of it. Google Gemini just, they just came out with their research assistant, which I have been blown away by some AI tools. I haven't gone in depth into that tool to see if it actually does what you want it to do. But thinking about the training, we spend hours and hours and hours training and learning and training and learning and cross training across departments and so forth. Well, I just saw the other day, you can use the Gemini trainer now, or research assistant, to just pop open GA4 or another product, and then it's actually just walking you through how to use it, which I think that concept is fantastic. Like, instead of me creating a loom and sending out a video of a training to show someone how to do it, if I say, here's a prompt, open up the tool, go and learn how to use it, and the research assistant just tells them, like, click here, okay, and then you're actually talking to it. So it is a true assistant. I think agents are gonna be a huge thing here very, very quickly, which I'm happy for. Give me a personal assistant agent. Give me all the ways that I can get those menial tasks done. On the side, so we use all of the GPTs just for all different things. I told you we're building our own so we can, have it very agency focused on our day to day. Video editing tools, we're dabbling in like CapCut, Opus Clip, all of the kind of the standard popular ones. On the UGC side, we partner with Scipio. We've dabbled a little bit in some of the like Bilio ones where it's like produce massive amounts of content. Again, we look at that, and what it's producing isn't what we need necessarily for our agency and our caliber of clients. Like I said, if you're selling like a coffee mug, that might work as far as UGC goes. Scipio is great because you have the mass productivity potential, but you're also getting very authentic user generated content. It is people, you're going and finding them, you're looking at what they're standing for, things like that, and then you're working within the tool to get those videos made. So I think that's more on the relationship side. So we love Scipio. And then for our what am I thinking of? Oh, for content. So for a while we were using like a Jasper AI or even Taplio, or the kinds of tools that help you with the outlines. But as soon as we realized those were just tapping into ChatGPT, we just got rid of all of those and started building our own prompts and so forth. So Yeah, it's an exciting space.
I love it. I mean, one of the things that we've gotten a lot of comments across the series, like what are very specific examples? And I want to say thank you today because you've really honed in and like given us some very specific things, very specific partners, very specific ideas around how generative AI can make a difference as a marketer, whether it's brand side, whether it's agency side. So that's been super crucial. I really appreciate that. Any parting thoughts as we round things out today?
My parting thoughts are, I mean, I would invest in AI if you haven't already. I think that we assume our audience is already very much in it, but if you're not, I mean, a lot of these tools, even if you combine them all, it's still not going to get past the 400 a month mark. So I would definitely recommend leaning in. And then I'd also say for people to just be careful out there. Like we can all, marketers can spot AI everywhere. Even stuff that I post, I'm like very cringing when I post it because I'm like, oh God, this is so AI created. Like, ugh. So I think there's a swinging of that pendulum that's going to come back. And so be authentic, stay authentic, be AI enabled, but don't get lost in it.
I love it. AI and I mean, that's my biggest takeaway today, Brooke, has been be AI enabled, right? Let's do what
Yeah.
AI is meant to do. Let's let AI do what humans do, but faster.
And build some cool stuff, right? That's what I would say. Go out and build something. Just try it. Build something. Like you can build apps now. You can build all the things that you have to, have, 10 years of experience under your belt as a developer to do. You can now do it with the help of AI.
Totally, 100%. Well, Brooke, thank you so much for joining Generative Genius today. We've really enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure everyone else will too. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.